what the fuck is really going on around this bitch?
Yeah. Britney's a clone. Kanye's a clone. Let's get into it.
Dude, is he though?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. We'll get into it.
We'll get into it. Okay.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to the Humanhood series, a series devoted to humanizing the human experience and making personal development more personal. And before we jump into today's episode, let's shout out our incredible sponsor, I Do Experiences. I Do is a local venue here in South Scottsdale that really can be utilized for any of your rental needs. Bridal shower, baby shower, photo shoot, podcast. You can even get married here. And shout out, they just got new floors. So
the floors are looking fire.
They are always making beautiful upgrades,
yeah.
And it is definitely one of our favorite venues here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area.
Yeah.
So today is Melanie's like chomping at the bits over here. She's excited for today. I'm excited for today because I feel like the past few episodes have been a little bit dense.
Yeah, they've been deep, man.
They've been deep and dense. And it's like we put so much pressure on ourselves to like be mindful and conscious and do everything right. But then it's like, what the fuck is even real?
Happening, bro.
Where are we in the matrix? Like, what's real? What isn't? Like, how important is all of this shit that we like consume our minds with?
Right.
You know, so today we're going to dive into all things quote unquote conspiracy theories. And really, before we get into today, I also want to give just like a warning, maybe like a trigger warning.
Smart.
And a discernment warning.
Yes, love that.
Everything we talk about today is obviously out of curiosity, our personal opinions now in this moment. They always change. And use your discernment on these topics because I know that once you kind of get the itch to go down these rabbit holes, a lot can change in your life, in your reality, and it can feel a little overwhelming and intense.
Totally.
So, trigger warning out there, and don't judge us.
Don't judge us. Okay.
But let's go into why did you feel this was important? Because this is your favorite topic.
Yeah. I was like, series 2, could we please talk about conspiracy theories? Okay, so obviously, like you just said right now, in the last couple of episodes, it was really serious and important, more dense topics. But in this series, we're committed to addressing all of the human experiences. And let's be honest, conspiracy theories, whether you want to admit it or not, it's actually a really big part of the human experience because we're constantly asking ourselves, what the fuck is really going on? What is actually happening? And honestly, I actually am starting to resent the term conspiracy theory because there's so many things that were deemed conspiracy theory that are true. And for some reason, even though they're conspiracy fact now, they're still considered conspiracy theory, which I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps people in the delusion of societal reality of like what's actually happening out there. Yeah. And there's, entertainment and there's media, there's all these narratives that are designed to confuse you on purpose so that you can't come to your own conclusions. And it's so overwhelming to figure out what's what that you don't even try anymore. And then you just go and fra-la-la-la-la.
Or you don't want to dig because you'll sound crazy.
Or you're afraid of what you're gonna find.
Yes.
You know how many people did not want to dive into the dark underbelly of child trafficking and all of like the satanic stuff because they're like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. A lot of people just don't want to know. I literally had friends tell me like, I'd rather not know. And I'm like, I hear you, but when you see how huge this is getting, why are we just allowing this to exist?
Yeah.
And like, oh, it's fine. Just child sacrifices are going down. No big deal.
I just watched an interview. Do you know who Alex Clark is?
Yes.
She's local, I think, to Scottsdale. She has a podcast, Culture Apothecary or something.
Okay, yes.
So she dives into a lot of these topics, and she actually just had someone on who was a part of, I don't know what you call it, a satanic ritual family. So
Yeah.
she grew up as a child having to make sacrifices herself.
Dude, I've
Her
studied
mom would
so many
force
of those
her
people. I've
to.
studied so many of them.
And when you listen to her story, she's like, this sounds crazy, but it's true. But then her family and even her siblings are like, you're crazy. It's not true. And then there's like a whole thing behind how everyone handles their trauma to make themselves feel better. And so it's a whole thing going on out there, whether people want to recognize it or not. And that's just one of the things, right? There's millions. And I think the bigger part of this conversation, what I'm passionate about is, what do you actually believe in? And are you open-minded enough to not take everything at face value? Because so many things are taken at face value and we feel disempowered because that's just the way that it is. But when you start to question and learn, things aren't always what they appear to be.
Yeah.
And the more I dive into this stuff, the more I walk around and I'm just like, none of this is real.
Yeah.
Like this is like, it is, but it isn't. Your reality just completely changes.
Yeah.
Is there anything like right now you're like, I'm itching to talk about this one or this topic?
Well, okay. Going back to the conversation of why is this important, right? It's so much bigger, so much more beyond just these crazy concepts of what's real and what's not. For me, it really boils down to how society is shaped and molded and how the world is really ran. Because when you think about reality and you think about society and you think about what it really takes to have power and control over the world, there has to be very specific plans in place to control and disempower 8 billion people.
Yeah.
It like the people who run the world, the people who have the most power and influence, the people who make the choices that dictate our lives. How did y'all get there? What have you guys been doing for decades and decades and maybe even centuries to be placed in such a position of power that you are the one who is making global decisions? And what are those decisions influenced by? What is the information that you have that is making you say, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it and this is what we're going to allow into the food and this is what we're going to allow into the water, and how does that affect the people? How does that affect us? You know, so I'm just like, what are the bigger programs at play here and how am I affected by them on a daily basis in my regular life? Yes, I have a great life. I live happy. I have a beautiful family, all these things. And I do have to admit that on a daily basis, I am poisoned and I am programmed. Somebody is doing those things to us. Somebody's making those choices to let that be a thing. And if people really wanted the world to be a healthy, like if they really wanted humanity to truly be healthy, that could be. But we have to acknowledge the systematic psychological suppression, biological suppression, all of those different things, especially when we're out here in the world making choices as far as what we're going to indulge in when it comes to media, when it comes to food, because all of those things affect our physiology. Now, during 2020, I had a conversation. Here we go. Okay.
Here we go.
During 2020, I had a conversation on a podcast with Mackenzie, the creator of Cacao, who literally is a freaking earth angel working to elevate the consciousness and frequency of humanity in so many beautiful ways. And she was like, why do you think this is happening? Why do you think the people who run the world are trying to control us in this way?
Yeah.
And I just believe that humans were such a sacred species. We're capable of so much. And if you study a lot of the ancient history and even listen to people like Greg Braden, he talks about the godliness within our DNA and what we're actually capable of as humans.
Yeah.
But how we're not really able to tap into those things. And even, a lot of people know that we usually only use about 10% of our brain's capacity. And so it's just like the concept of psychic abilities and telepathy and all these different things, call me crazy. But I think that those aren't just like psychic abilities that are special. I believe that humans have truly so much more potential in our genetic code that we should be capable of these things because we already do it on a subtle level to a degree, but it's so faint. It's like we don't have access to it. But why don't we have access to it? Well, because we're born into a world with dirty air, dirty water. As soon as we're born, we're injected with chemicals. The food is poison. The atmosphere is poison. We're disconnected from our planet. Like, what is human potential?
Yeah.
If the planet was actually pure?
Well, the thing that I love that you're saying all this because I do feel that they want to keep us in fear. They want to keep us in a low vibrational state. And I'll even say when I stopped drinking, over those years, my intuition, my ability to like see really clearly and feel really clearly and create more powerfully was so advanced. And I wasn't even like a serious drinker who was like always drunk.
Yeah.
It was just from having that little bit of poison in me and that little bit of low vibrational like doses every now and again. And so if I felt how much my life has enhanced from eliminating one toxin from my life, I think, imagine if I were living in a place where there was very limited like corruption, how powerful would I actually be?
Right.
What would I actually be doing? What would I be creating? And so I love that you're saying that because I do think there is this element of them wanting to keep people in a state that we're easy to manipulate. We're not questioning things. We are controllable. And we saw that in 2020. And again, like, I think maybe we touched on this a little bit with like the mask wearing and whatnot. I don't care like what people were doing. The thing that kind of like upset me a little bit was that there was no question to the choices or decisions.
Even the 6 feet thing later on, they were like, oh, we just made that up.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no question.
Big like social experiment is what it started to feel like.
A social experiment is what it was. They're like, okay, what can we get away with? What will people fall for? And that was the thing that I was like really upset about was, guys, if we don't question this, if we just cave this quickly, what are they going to put in place next year or next month? And they're like, social experiment. They'll do it. All we got to do is hit them with this. And so that's where like my resistance to everything came in, where it's like, I will not be programmed this easily. Right. I'm going to question. I'm going to research. I'm going to make my choices. But that really, really kind of disturbed me that people were just so easily. And again, it's not about what they chose to do. It's about the questioning of it.
Right.
You can still question it and be like, yep, I still think this is safe and I still would like to do it. Wonderful. And I'm still aware that this could actually be happening. But the unawareness of people who were like calling me crazy and like
mad at you.
Literally, friends were mad at friends.
Yeah.
Were mad and like looked at us like we were aliens because we were from Arizona and we were so free and they were in so much fear in California. Yeah. And it was just like a social experiment on all ends.
No, you know what's wild though?
What?
This is what I was pointing out to people. I'm like, they even programmed you to accept the mask wearing because don't you remember for X amount of time before the masks were enforced, the mask filters on social media were like so popular. There was
deeper programming.
There was every single type of mask filter on Snapchat. And why were those so popular? Like that was like a huge thing. The most popular filters were like these different little masks.
And that's what we call predictive programming.
That's predictive programming. That's when they're like planting the seeds for you to accept something.
Yes.
And I feel like I know that's what entertainment is for, and Hollywood and music, and they're all just like planting these seeds. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, in one of his books, he talks about everybody's mind has a different level of suggestibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also really important. Like for me as a parent, when it comes to developing Vakai's mind, is really working to develop free thinkers and people who have their own identity, because the suggestibility is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When people just like accept it,
Yes.
and then they don't ask questions, and then they just let it be. Just same thing like with the what do we want to call it, I don't know if we want to be careful on this, because this is gonna be on YouTube.
I know.
Of the, God damn
Just
it.
say it. We can bleep it out.
Okay, the vax.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of people didn't question that either.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was talking about. With the mask, the vaccinations, all of that stuff. And okay, so going back to the vaccination thing, I feel like and this is my belief, and you can challenge me on this, but I feel like at some point things were put in place with good intention. Back in the day, I believe that vaccinations were created because, there were measles, there were things, and there were medications and things in place to like help mitigate that.
Yeah.
But it's gotten out of control, is my thought.
Yeah.
And I have a girlfriend who I just went to her baby shower. So she's pregnant with her third. And the first one, she did so much research on the vaccination. That's what I love about her. She's like, I'm not taking anything at face value.
Yeah.
But she was like, okay, I'm studying these. And she decided to do a few on her first. And she's like, okay, great. I feel comfortable about this. The second, she did the same thing. And she feels like she saw adverse reactions immediately.
Really?
Yes. And so now she's pregnant with her third. And she's like, I don't know, because I have a 50-50, like I have proof right here that 50% of the time, everything's fine. 50%, it's my belief it's not okay. And so now she's in this like, do I do anything with this third child? And then if I don't and something happens, the guilt of that. But she's like, I'm already feeling the guilt of what happened with the second child.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I do think that a lot of these things were put in place with good intentions, even talking about like the opioid epidemic. I believe they created those because they were needed at some point.
Yeah.
But then it got out of hand.
Yeah.
And so it's like being aware of where this all stems from and using your discernment and doing research and being a self-advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And not letting anybody shame you, because my son's not vaccinated.
Yeah. I love that you talk about that.
Yeah, he's not.
How was that even a question for you when he was born?
1000%.
Okay.
I was like your friend. I did all the research. I researched the ingredients of them, but what I researched even further was the disease itself. And I researched the probabilities of your child even being able to get these particular diseases.
Yeah.
And then a step further, I researched the probabilities that if your child even does get this, what are the chances that it could actually be fatal or life altering?
Okay.
And that was like, the odds of that happening were like out of this world.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
And so, Vakai's not vaccinated, and I feel great about that because he's wonderful. He doesn't have any allergies. He doesn't have a single food sensitivity. He has zero health issues. None. Like there's not, there's all these kids these days that have all these food allergies and all these different sensitivities or ADHD and, like all these different things. And I think there's other stuff that contributes to that, of course. Even just their generation, the entertainment is so short. It's like the clips that they're seeing, their brain is being programmed to only hold attention for a certain amount of time. Like that in itself is
scary.
Yeah, because dude, we'll be in a car and we'll be listening to a song that's like 4 minutes, and he's like, "This song is so long."
I kind of think that way too, though. Now when I go back to one of my old school favorite songs, I'm like 4:30. Damn.
I was like, "This is how music used to be, son."
Yeah, and now it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds,
dude,
all like very clippy and fast.
Yeah. So when I was pregnant, thankfully, I was already in my conscious living when I got pregnant with him. So I approached everything from the space of curiosity. I watched pro-vax things and the opposite. Like I dove into all of it. And then that was the choice that I made. And I'm really glad that I made it. And I have a healthy, thriving, his immune system is insane. Like, yeah, that was my choice. And I stand by it. And any other children that I were to have, I would make that same choice as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have to do major research.
Yeah.
Talk to you. Just tell me everything that you read. I trust you.
Well, I think there's a way, like, you know, RFK's been talking about this. He's been getting so much scrutiny for being
okay, but let me stop and interject.
What?
Do you actually think he has good intentions? He's one of the good guys. He's going to make change. Like, if we're going back to who has control, how do you get into power?
Right. See, it's a tough thing, man. Right now, I feel like is one of the most confusing times of who do we truly put our faith and trust in? Like, who can we trust? Bro, we got trust issues at this point.
Yeah.
For real. Because I would love to truly believe that he really, really is on the right side of things, especially when you listen to people who've been friends with him for decades. And those are people that you trust who aren't huge public figures.
Yeah.
And then even just looking at like the history of his entire political career has all been around keeping the earth healthy. You know what I mean? Like his whole life has been devoted to that. But then because he's connected to the Trump administration.
Or just the administration at all.
In general, yeah. It's like, it's really hard. It's really hard. Honestly, right now, I am in a space with all of the politicians and all of the big public figures. Like, I feel like I can't fucking trust anyone right now.
No, and that's why I didn't really care about the election, and I haven't for the past couple of elections, because I feel like I've seen through the veil so much that I feel like everyone's in cahoots with one another, and everyone who's put into place is like, everyone's just strategically put in to have some type of outcome, and it's all fuckery is what I think. And so I just don't think, I think that whoever was supposed to be elected, like it was going to happen regardless of the votes. Regardless. I just think like, okay, this year, boom, 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 boom. So I don't trust any of them. So I have hopes for him, but I don't. How the fuck do you get that role?
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I think also I do inherently believe that there are good people in powerful places. I don't think that everybody in a powerful position is an absolute piece of shit. I don't. You know, I think that there are good people out there who want to save humanity for real. Because I mean, I'm one of them on a micro scale, and I would love to believe that there are good, solid humanity heroes out there who have managed to make their way to somewhere where they could create change. Yeah. You know, so as a person in the place in society that I'm in or that we're in, I think for us, it's more so about choosing how we live our daily lives, because we're the ones that give them power. You know, we're the ones that give the pharmaceutical industry the power, the food industry the power, the entertainment industry the power, because we're the consumers. And so going back to what you believe when it comes to all of these theories that float in the ether, it's like, what choices are you making off of what you believe? One of the choices that we've decided to make is even just what we eat or what we don't eat. You know, like I haven't had McDonald's in 12 years. I haven't had McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Wendy's, Taco Bell. I haven't had none of them in 12 years. Like, you don't get to poison my body at that level anymore. Right. And like you were saying about drinking, I experienced that sensation of more awakened energy, awakened consciousness when I stopped eating poison like that. Because I used to eat bullshit every day, all the time. And I remember the feeling that I had in my mind when I would walk around the world And now it seemed like a freaking mushroom trip back then because my awareness was so heightened and I was looking at the trees and the leaves and things in such a different perspective and perception. And that was just from starting to eat organic, locally grown foods from the farmer's market, you know?
And you can even feel that way when you eliminate something as simple as caffeine.
Right.
You know, not having that like tripped out, jittery feeling in the morning after you like have your espresso or whatever, and you're actually at peace and normal. It's like, oh, this is what it feels like to not have like anything. Stimulants, anything in me. And yeah, the food is a huge piece of that. Like I feel that way too. When I don't eat well on the weekend, I'm like,
feel it.
You're like, oh, I feel groggy. I don't feel happy. I feel frumpy. And so it's like, yeah, going back to we have the choices. So what can we do? And now my pound of ground beef is $15 because the only thing I'll eat is force of nature.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust any of the other meats out there. Because all these stories are coming out even about like Sprouts brands and all of these things that like what really is organic meat and grass fed and everything.
Shout out to Hartquist Hollow.
What's that?
They are a local farm. I just bought a huge like grilling meat box from them from the farmer's market. Okay. I pre-ordered it. It's like $250. It comes with all these steaks, all this ground beef. It's like
I've been looking for someone local to get mass meat from. So keep going.
Yeah. Scottsdale Farmers Market. I'm sure they go to other places too, but that is such a thing, dude, what you're talking about. It's like, but then those become conspiracy theories too of what's really in the meat.
Yeah.
Is it real meat? Is it?
I know, it's overwhelming.
It's so bad.
Okay, what are your thoughts on, I'm getting this videos coming up in my, of like people who are opening the bananas and it's all like rubbery and bent, or like the watermelons that like are all funky. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, it's no secret that they are manipulating the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Like, that's no secret. I think it's also, again, the consumer's issue of like where you're choosing to shop. All those videos that I've ever seen like that, you know, is the number one culprit.
What?
Walmart. I'm like, why are you buying produce at Walmart, bro? What are you doing?
Well, some people can only go to Walmart.
No, no, that's not true.
Well, I think about that when I go to Target. I'm like, since when did they get a grocery section? It feels eerie to buy groceries from Target.
Yeah. So, okay, so these are the real important questions. When you talk about the conspiracy theories, it's like, what are the ones that impact our daily life? Where the food comes from, what they're putting in the entertainment, the shows that you let your kids watch. Because there was this whole conspiracy theory about Cocomelon. That was like supposedly programming the kids' brains in a certain way.
Okay, I'm seeing all these videos now that I've seen on social media of like the children's toys that like something
were dirty,
were like in their private areas and things like that
stuff.
And I'm like, is that true, or are these videos like I don't know.
No, it was definitely true.
Okay.
Yeah, there was like literal moms.
I saw that.
Posting videos from their house.
Yeah.
Like, I bought this very popular toy for my kid, and it has a button on the fucking vagina of the toy, and you press it and it makes a noise.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one that I saw.
Yeah, it's like, bro, what is happening?
Yeah.
So, my theory... Let's dive into, because the question's always like, well, why? Why would they do that?
Right.
Why would they poison the food? Why would they put these subliminal messages in the shows? And why would they do this and why would they do that? Mm-hmm. You know? So for those of y'all who know nothing about the MK Ultra
here she goes.
No, for real.
Buckle up.
To me, this is one of the most important parts.
Put your seatbelts on.
Safety vest
strap
on. We're
in.
gonna get deep. Okay?
Keep your hands in the vehicle at all times.
Okay. To me, people understanding the what was learned and what was taken from those experiments. So if you don't know what MK Ultra is a secret operation that the CIA had. It was started in 1953. It supposedly ended in 1973, which is still crazy that they were allowed to do this for 20 years. I highly doubt that they just stopped. But in that time, it was psychological experimentation on people. And the really fucked up thing about this was that majority of the people that they experimented on, it was involuntary. They didn't even like volunteer to be experimented on. They were like people that they just pulled off of the streets and were drugging them, were torturing them. It was like electromagnetic torture, sexual torture. They were drugging these people with LSD. And the whole MK Ultra operation, it was a psychological mind control study trying to figure out how they could manipulate the minds of man. And what would it take to create a split personality, or what would it take to traumatize somebody so much that you could alter their programming and all of these different things. And when you think about the means, it was they poisoned the people, they drugged the people, sexual energy, sexual manipulation and torture, electromagnetic things. So it's like we are impacted by that every single day to some degree because our music is so sexual and explicit. So is a lot of the entertainment, the poison in the food and how that's affecting us. And then even just us being on these electronics all the time. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I be on my phone and I literally feel like my phone is fucking shocking me. Have you ever go through that?
Yeah.
Dude.
If I sit too close to a Wi-Fi box,
you feel it in your body.
I can literally feel it. Yeah.
Right. So it's like we're being subjected to this stuff all the time, right? And so the fact that the CIA, a huge government agency, did this to innocent people for so long at such a sinister level, what do you think they did with that information? The intelligence agency spends decades learning how to psychologically manipulate humanity. And then at the quote unquote end of it, when they were supposed to end it in 1973, the head of the CIA, his name was Richard Helm, he made them destroy all of, supposedly destroy all of the information that they learned from it. You know? And so just because they got found out of what they were doing and people said, hey, you're not allowed to do that anymore, knock it off. And they say, all right, we'll stop. You think they really stopped doing that type of thing?
Yeah.
No, that was not that long ago. We have to really pay attention to history, dude. Nobody pays attention. Look at the history of our government. Like, that's what people have to look at. They weren't just studying that information to use it on our enemies. There's a bigger picture here. They did that. They were working with people in universities. They were working with people in hospitals, in education, in the military. They were working with people in all of the biggest like control sectors of society. So that stuff's really, really important because at the end of the day, if you are so unaware of these things, then you are a lab rat. Straight up. For real. For real. Like what? We're like, just like we talked about for COVID, you know, that was a big social experiment to some degree because a lot of the rules that they enforced ended up being bullshit in the end. So I think it's really important that people really, really understand what is this thing that we live in, who created the rules, who founded it, why, and being able to make as many choices as you possibly can on a daily basis to make sure that you're not going to be able to avoid it at all costs, but at least you're not, like I said, you're not a lab rat on this freaking hamster wheel and you're not literally falling into the traps that have been set for us. Like all the substance abuse, like the pornography, because it's like also that. Why the hell are there no restrictions on that? Why are people having to fight to make that be an 18 and up thing? Why is pornography just all over the goddamn place and so accessible to the children now? And why is there so much stuff that's being catered to the kids? Because they know how sexual energy affects the mind and how it affects the brain and how it can disempower, especially when it's infiltrated at such a young age. Yeah. They're so aware of all of these things. But until we become aware, until we start to say, hey, absolutely not, get that shit out of the food. Absolutely not. Like, get this out so readily available. Get that off the internet like that. You know, absolutely not. We're not going to be putting this in, you know, children's schools or whatever. So that's my take on it.
Everyone take a breath. This is the episode that Melanie needed to take a breath.
Bro. Well, because I stopped talking about this stuff on social media.
Yeah.
I feel like at a certain point, once you dive into all the rabbit holes, which I've been down like a million of them, then you just have to say, okay, I know all this information. Now, like, I think it's important that you do the research to learn about the deep, dark underbelly of the planet. Don't sit there and be naive. Don't just ignorance is bliss your way through life in that way.
Yeah.
But you do get to a point when you've accumulated all the information that you're like, okay, now how do I live with this information?
Right. Once you become aware, you can't become unaware. And even we talked about this on the last episode, like just fucking around and listening to shitty music. Because like sometimes I just want to bump Ja Rule, okay? With like nothing else attached to it. But I will say that when I listen to too much of that type of music, I can feel my vibration lowering. And that's because we know that they are putting in those types of frequencies into the music, the words. And when you're listening to a song, like, have you ever been in the car and you're like zoning out listening to a song? Mm-hmm. They're putting you in a trance.
Totally.
With the lyrics, with the frequencies, with everything. And so knowing this, it's like, okay, I still want to listen to my favorite songs. And I know when I've had enough because I can feel my vibration lowering. And then it takes me a little while to recalibrate. And so they're doing that with the music. They're doing it with shows. They're doing it with, I mean, almost everything. Like the entertainment industry, when I learned about that, that's why I unfollowed every celebrity, because I'm like, you're all a joke. You are all a serious joke. Even like the ones who appear to be good, I feel like you have to have some type of agreement or something to be able to, again, have that type of power. And again, who knows what they're putting in their frequencies in their music. Mm-hmm. And so once like that veil got lifted, I'll use the Kardashians as an example. I used to really like them because I love the empires that those women have built.
Right.
I'm fascinated by the business side of them and their creation. So that's what I really liked them for, not so much their show. And then when I went down the rabbit hole and I realized just how awful all the celebrities are, I'm like, I can't even like you anymore because you're a good businesswoman.
Yeah.
And so being able to just, I feel like we talked about this maybe last season, where for the people who are more suggestible, who aren't able to discern this information and who do look up to these people, I feel sad that these narratives are being pushed and these types of ideas are being pushed onto people who might not have the discernment to understand what's actually going on. And now it's leaving them insecure, or it's leaving them brainwashed, or it's leaving them in a disempowered state just because they aren't aware yet.
Right.
And maybe their parents aren't aware, so they're giving them access to this music and these shows and stuff like that. Because some people, when you said the lab rat thing, I was like, whoa, that's a little bold. But some people are just highly unaware and they just don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Just the lab rat don't know. The lab rat don't know it's being experimented on, it's being influenced.
Yeah. And so I guess that's kind of where now that you have this information, maybe just being more open-minded and don't feel so bad about your circumstance. Going to the entertainment industry, don't feel so bad about your circumstance or what's going on because it doesn't look like the celebrity. You don't know what's going on in their world. You don't. Mm-hmm. This is your reality, and detach from the entertainment because it's there to distract you.
Even with all the Diddy stuff?
Dude.
So many illusions, man.
Yes, let's get into that because Let's talk Puff Daddy. Okay. Because here's the thing. Okay. I think that everything he did, obviously, I think all the celebrities are doing it. But do I actually?
I think not all of them.
Majority of them, I feel, either are involved or know about it and are turning a blind eye. But my thing is you actually think Diddy's in trouble right now?
I have no idea what's going on with him.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know either. But no, I think that whenever they take a celebrity down.
Yeah.
It's just their time to go down.
Yeah,
it's just
Candace Owens talks about that. And I know everybody like hates Candace Owens, but she's making a comeback. I don't care what anybody says.
I like her.
Yeah.
She's a little intense sometimes, but
I don't agree
like
with everything that she says, but she stands on what she believes in, and I admire that.
I like how bold she is.
Yeah.
But I think that, let's say Diddy's going down. It was just his time to go down. Because if they take him down and they expose all these people, like it's all a distraction. Who was the guy before him that went down?
Harvey Weinstein,
Epstein. Mm-hmm. Why haven't they released any of the logs? Like, why aren't they giving information? Because it's just like their time to be the distraction of whatever's going on. And it's like, you're up next, puppet. You're going down. That's what I think. Diddy's not getting in trouble.
I don't know, man.
It looks like it, but I don't think he's like actually in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, there's just way too many people involved. So, and like he has higher ups.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. There's too many people involved that if they were to actually expose someone and take them down, the whole thing would crumble.
Right.
The whole entertainment industry would crumble.
Right. So that's like, even me bringing up the Diddy thing, it's more so like, not everything is what it seems.
Yeah.
Not all of these people are who you think they are. Like even Will and Jada. Like that came tumbling down in such a wild way. And like Will and Jada for so long were like the iconic couple that everybody referenced.
And they were so, like they were living the most crazy relationship.
Crazy.
August Alsina, he was like 20, best friends with her son.
And I mean, to each his own. Like if y'all accepted that and they're like, okay. But again, the shedding of the illusion.
Yes.
So it really does go back to not being so invested into some of these people, you know, and going back to like the discernment as well. Once you know about the fuck shit, then you can like for me, I can watch certain movies now. And I'm so conscious and aware with what I know that I can watch the movie and I know what types of mind games could potentially be trying to be played on me or what type of programming. It's like, you know, you watch a movie, you're like a hardcore conspiracy theorist, and then you watch a movie like, bitches.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's really about that.
You're right.
It's because one thing that my mentor always told me, he said, it's good to know the truth and the lie. So that when you know the truth and the lie, then you know how to play in the game of what the truth and the lie is. It's like, I know you're lying, but I could be in this.
Yeah.
You know, like I know this is BS, but I can exist here because I have the wisdom to operate within the lie.
Right.
You know?
But also, like, what is the truth? Because everything we're talking about here is just our opinion.
It's all subject.
It's all our opinion.
So we could be so full of shit.
We could be so off base right now.
Yeah.
You know, like what is actually true. And when I like think about that, it makes me think about everything in life, every area. Like no one is ever really right or wrong. It's just your belief.
Totally.
In every situation, unless it's something horrible, like you're hurting children.
Totally.
Like we always say, that's the number one thing that is
don't fuck with the kids, man.
No gray area there. But everything else, it's just a belief.
Yeah.
And when you realize that everyone is living in their own reality with our own beliefs, you are more, I become more accepting of people.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you accept my beliefs?
Well, when you're in the process of people probably listening are like, well, what do I believe? Why should I believe it?
Yeah.
It just like anything else, it all comes down to your values. What are your values? Well, one of my values is human sovereignty, freedom.
Right.
One of my values is purity of my vessel. So for me, if something looks like it's a poison to my body and so-and-so's telling me it's good, but this person's telling me it's not, and I'm going to make my choice based off of what feels like the most purest thing for my physiology, or when it comes to parenting and the education and all of that. So it's the beliefs that you choose when with all of these different opinions that are out here, what's important to you? What feels like something that feels right for you to get anchored in?
Right.
Because like you said, what really is the truth? We don't really know.
No one
So
knows.
that's the crazy thing about being a human, dude,
Yeah.
especially in today's age. Yo, we are a very interesting generation because our parents didn't have to go through this.
No, and there's so much information out there. And with AI, all of the videos, like you could see something, we'll go back to like the toy situation. Someone could easily just make a video.
Right.
And it would not be true at all because AI is getting so good at depicting certain things. So now it's like every time you see a video, you immediately want to believe it. But is it actually real? And that reminds me of those videos that were going around during COVID. Remember where
people dying? What?
Oh, right. That
all the
too.
people just dropping dead in China?
Wait.
My dad was in China at that time. I was so scared.
Really?
Yeah.
Why was he in China?
For work.
What does he do?
He's an engineer.
Your dad is?
Yeah.
The fuck?
I know. He works on robots that like build explosives.
What? Oh my gosh.
I know. He's really cool.
What a cool guy.
He's the coolest guy.
No, not those videos of people dropping dead in China. But okay, there's so many videos coming right now. But the one I was talking about was the one with the magnets where people were like putting keys and stuff up to their arms. And then sometimes people were like, I lied. I was just like, it was like glue or something.
Really?
Yes, but then some of them were real because I had a friend do it. I was like, send me the video.
Yeah, you told me about that.
I was like, send me the video. And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, okay. Like, but again, is that true? I don't know. But the illusions in the videos, the ones that really get me, and now I'm not really trusting the news. Like there's video, well, I never have, but there's videos of like someone blowing a fan and it's like the winds are so strong to the meteor person who's talking. And it's like, because the fan's on me. It's not because there's actually a storm going on.
Yeah.
Like, why are you trying to make this look bigger than it is?
For the views, man.
I know.
Everything's fueled by money. If no one's watching, they're not going to get funding for that shit.
I know, but it's just crazy to me that like someone would pretend there's a storm and then someone would actually be okay reporting in front of a fake storm.
Well, when it comes to news, TV shows, this is what everybody needs to know, all right? The television was never invented to entertain you or to inform you. That's not the purpose of its invention. When you go to the US.gov patent website, the patent for the television, the purpose of its design was to manipulate the nervous system. Yeah.
And that it does. Literally.
Yes.
That's all I feel when
Yeah.
I'm on any type of media. Completely dysregulated, completely just like ramped up.
Well, that's why you gotta work with the system, because there's a lot of times that depending on where I'm at energetically, like, yo, I just started watching Love on the Spectrum.
Wait, was this the last time we were talking about this?
I don't know.
Love Island you were watching?
No, I was watching Love is Blind.
Okay, so you got into another show.
Now I got to another show.
Love on the Spectrum. Okay.
Do you know what Love on the Spectrum is?
I have an idea about what it is. Is it people who are on the spectrum?
Yeah.
Finding love? Okay.
All these different people in different areas of the spectrum finding love. But I was in a space where I was like, I need to watch something wholesome. Like my spirit
That
wants,
is sweet.
yes,
Yeah.
my spirit needs to watch something wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
And people aren't always approaching their entertainment consumption off of what their nervous system needs.
Yes.
They're just choosing what their entertainment consumption is based off of what they like.
Yeah.
And sometimes, no, like a lot of people, like one of my best friend, she's absolutely insane. She loves horror movies.
Ugh.
But she also has horrible anxiety and she's like on medication and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're not intentional about the entertainment that you consume, and you did that for so many years that now your nervous system is literally out of control.
Yeah.
To where you can't function properly without some sort of support.
Right.
You know? So you have to know what state of being you're in when you're consuming anything. Just like it's the relationship that you have with yourself. I do the same thing with food. I'm like, I really need something fresh right now.
Mm-hmm.
So in tune with my physiology. My body needs something refreshing. Or I need something dense. I need like a burger.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Same thing goes for music.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times when I'm in the car and Vakai turns on a song, I'm like, Sonny, I can't listen to this right now.
Yeah.
Or he does the same thing to me. He's like, Mom, no, not this right now.
Yeah.
Like, I need to listen to something chill. So it's about utilizing all of these elements of society, from food, TV, music, whatever, to support our psychological, physiological processes. We can be very intentional about those things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are there any conspiracies that you have like gotten so deep into and now you're like, okay, I think I took that one over the edge. I don't think that's true. Or like I went a little too hard and I don't think it's that deep. Like you got to call yourself out a little bit.
Yeah. At one point, when I was really, really diving into like the child trafficking stuff,
Yeah.
there was this, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know. There was like this big narrative going around that like Donald Trump was going to come and help.
That was a narrative.
Yeah, there was this big narrative that was like Donald Trump was like actually trying to take out all these like big pedophiles. And I don't know if it's true. But at the time, I really was like, okay, I think he's really going to save the kids. It's funny to think about it now. I was in like 2020. I was like, okay, I think Donald Trump might really be trying to infiltrate the system
for the
to save the
kids.
kids. I hope he does, you know? But I'm like, nothing significant has happened because there was all of like the Q drops back then saying that there was all these things that were going to happen. And supposedly a lot of those things are happening. So one thing that we need to know is just because it's not in the media doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that it's not happening. Because actually I have relationships with people who are connected to these operations where all of these like ex-Navy SEALs, ex-really high-ranking military men, they're out there and they really are taking down rings and they really are saving children, and none of that stuff ever makes the news, you know? So that's really, really important to pay attention to, is like there is stuff going on.
Yeah.
Out there that we don't know about.
Yeah.
There are these really big operations that are happening that the masses are not being informed of, which is unfortunate because we should know what's going down. But even one time there was a huge adrenochrome bust. There was like this huge, like it just like the way that people, you know, they stop a big transport of cocaine.
Yeah.
They like in Canada, they stopped a huge transport of adrenochrome. I know. And that never made the news.
And then going back to like the predictive programming and all that stuff. Have you seen that movie Monsters, Inc.?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Do you think that that's like connected? How the monsters are like eating the kids and drinking their blood?
Well, considering that Disney is like incredibly dark and sinister at the core of its underbelly, anything is possible. Like, bitch, have you seen Pinocchio?
Yeah, but not recently. Okay, what's the deal with Pinocchio?
Don't watch it.
What's the deal?
Me and Kai watched the newer version of Pinocchio. It is so twisted and messed up.
What is it about?
So, essentially, the story of Pinocchio is about this old man who just wants a real boy.
Oh, no.
And so then he creates his own little puppet of this real boy. And then Pinocchio turns into a real boy and he lives with the old man and, but then because he's just a little puppet and he's naive, he doesn't know anything, he goes out into the world to, be a real boy. And there's this fox that is essentially human trafficking the kids in the goddamn movie. And this fox takes all these kids, all these little boys to what's called Pleasure Island. And he takes them to Pleasure Island where they don't leave as boys. In the new movie of Pleasure...
What do they leave as?
Donkeys. They turn into animals and they end up caging them up in the movie. It's so messed up, dude. The new Pinocchio.
Donkeys.
It's so dark and sinister, bro. So the kids all go to Pleasure Island and they're indulging in like gluttony. They're overeating. They're drinking this stuff. Oh, they're getting poisoned. They're drinking this drink and it's the drink that turns them into the animals. And then once they turn into animals, then they get caged. It's fucked up, dude. That it's a kid's. To me, it says a lot about Disney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
Well, when you start to read between the lines, there's a lot of things in a lot of kids' movies.
Yes.
That it's like, why are they doing that?
Yeah. Well, okay. Just like, the predators are gonna be where the prey is at. Mm-hmm. So that's why you see a lot of that stuff in Disney and Nickelodeon and Disney World. There's been so many trafficking rings busted at Disney World and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In schools, that's why you see all that stuff in like foster care systems, because the predators are always going to be where the prey is at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that new show? It's on YouTube called Sosa. I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole or not. It's not a rabbit hole, it's a show. It's this woman who started this, like, I don't know what it is, an operation with the police, and she takes down predators, but she sends out decoys. So like a 22-year-old who looks really young will be like texting and like Snapchatting these guys. And it shows the whole conversation, the whole interaction, the whole operation of taking down these predators. And it is repulsive. I started watching the videos and I was like, everywhere I go, I'm like, he could be a predator. She could be a predator. Like everywhere I go, because it's your everyday people.
Yeah.
Everyday people. One guy was an engineer and he was in the conference room of his office, Snapchatting a 12-year-old.
No, listen. Desi, one of her clients, a girl, recently got busted for child pornography.
Her client? It was like someone who was in that room.
Yeah. So it's like you never know who it is.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the conversation that we had about me being like the mothering, wanting to have kids, because all of these people out here, somebody raised them or didn't raise them. Mm-hmm. Something shaped their desire. Something molded their impulses. Something did that to them.
Right.
And sometimes it's just a lack of parenting, and then you're in your room and you're on the internet and you're watching weird shit online because YouTube led you to one thing and that led you to this, and nobody was paying attention. So you started, you know what I'm saying?
And the algorithm is like so addicting, even as an adult.
Dude.
You know, you just keep clicking and getting fed.
And YouTube is like the filthiest, weirdest, sickest place for kid content. I cannot, Vakai's not allowed to watch it. He's not allowed to watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff that would pop up on his YouTube was literally insidious. Like the fact that this is children's content, it was disgusting. Yeah. It was bad.
And the wild thing is like, how can people go about, like, how have they not gotten child pornography off of the internet? It is like, I feel like would be the easiest thing to catch, like these types of accounts. Like there's actual Instagram accounts of children.
Yeah, honestly.
Like this is a public Instagram account. How do you not take that down? But you can monitor like words that people use and like block it from being seen, but you can't take down this account that's clearly with a bunch of underage children.
Yeah.
That's the thing to me, where it's like, it's not hard to scrub social media accounts. Because you got scrubbed. So it's like, how do you
I got deleted.
Yeah, so it's like you can delete someone who's talking about a certain topic, but you can't go catch this account that's wide open. That to me is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
So many unanswered questions. But that's why we wanted to have this conversation, just to acknowledge the constant search for truth that we're all in every single day in all of these different elements of life.
Yeah.
And yes, it can get overwhelming. It can get confusing. It can be like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't escape this, or I can't, this is in front of my face, or this is, it feel like sometimes you could feel victim to some of these things, or like even powerless to some of these things. But just like everything else, it all boils down to your everyday choices, because the choices that you make, they fuel whatever's out there. So if you are living a high quality, holistic, righteous, healthy lifestyle, and you really are doing your best to show up from a place of love and integrity and purity and all of these different things, then you really are a beacon of that out in society. And then maybe you influence somebody to do that, and you influence somebody to do that. And it really is on a micro level that we get to impact each other in a way that makes us want to live in a certain type of energy, in a certain type of lifestyle, because just as cliche as it is, we really have the power to change society. Because if there was somebody out there that was like, I would never harm a child, and that was everybody's thought, this would be a different world.
Yeah.
I would never do that to a kid if that was like the main program of human beings. But unfortunately, our society is wired in a way where people have way too much access to weird ass stuff that shapes their minds. So we play our role in healing humanity, and everybody else plays their role. And I think that's a beautiful part about being in this industry as well, is like, when you are awake and you are aware and you know what's going on out there in the world and all the deepest levels, you can't save all the kids, or you can't, go and stop every pilot from spraying chemtrails in the sky or whatever. But you do get to play your role in your world with your people, and not be a soul on this planet that is feeding the darkness.
Yeah, I think my biggest wrap up with all of this, it's really simple. Ask questions. Get curious. Don't take anything at face value. And that's with anything in your life, whether it's a topic like this or literally anything. Someone just who told you that?
Right.
What's your source from? Tell me more. Like, asking questions is one of the most supportive things you can do with your life, because you're not just taking everything at face value and going along with the crowd. And I know that it's easier to do that sometimes, but when you realize that not everything is what it seems to be, and you can ask the question and go a layer deeper and dive just a little bit deeper, you have more control and power over your life and your immediate family's life, more than you think. So ask a question. And I know it can be really challenging, especially in environments where like doctors are involved.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, tell me more about that. And they just want to like do something to you because they're the doctor. And it's easy to say like, okay, I trust you, but go home and do your research and like look into it, and then go back and ask questions. So that's my biggest thing with all of this. Ask questions, get curious, and don't take everything at face value.
Yeah. I think that's it for today, friend.
Yeah.
That was good. If you guys have any questions, hit us up, all right?
I'm curious, like, how many of these clips can we actually post on social?
I mean, let's find out. Let's find
I'm
out.
getting shit taken down.
We just started it. We don't want to get
We're
shut down.
finally getting momentum.
On honestly, the fact that we even have to consider that is also fucked up.
That is so fucked.
That's fucked up. You
Yeah.
know?
It's like, can this even go on YouTube?
I mean,
don't
we
know.
didn't go too deep.
We didn't.
You know, there's way deeper things we could have
We'll just end this with, we love the government. The government is so great. They're so safe. They are here for us.
Shut Just like, get that in the algorithm.
Get that in the algorithm.
We love you guys. We're grateful for all of you tuning in. This was a fun conversation that we really wanted to have. It's honestly, it's very important to me. To me, this shit is serious. It's really not a motherfucking game. It's actually not.
But it is it a game? We don't know.
To me, I'm like, but just
stay aware.
Stay aware, man. Don't be a lab rat. Love you.
Love you.
Bye. Bye.